the ability to be able to start and actually build that startup and the company and the infrastructure and everything around it was like I was hesitant constantly to be able to pursue it. I didn't believe in myself enough. I didn't know what could have happened. I was second guessing my abilities. There's just so many different things and thoughts that come to your head. And I'm talking about 12 years ago.
Right? How did you fix it?
Just have to do it.
I've learned to kind of enjoy that part of my day. It's almost kind of like the calm before the storm in a lot of ways for me. So that's absolutely something that I practice almost every single day. And I've learned to really enjoy that for sure.
Now,
venture hustles, life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Venture Hustles podcast. I'm your co-host Saj, and with me, as always, is Mr. Jack. How are we?
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Really looking forward to this episode today.
Yeah, absolutely. We are excited to bring you another insightful conversation. And this time, this is something that is absolutely very essential for every entrepreneur. Confidence. Now, as a founder, the belief you have in yourself directly impacts the belief others will have in you. So how can you build unshakable confidence? So that's what we're going to try to discover today and discuss. And in this episode, we'll share strategies that you probably haven't tried yet. So don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell. Stay up to date with all of our episodes. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, pretty much any platform you can think of. We're there, audio and video. So hopefully we can see some more of you that watch actually sub to us, and would love to hear your feedback. Now with that, let's dive right in. So why do we choose this topic? Why,
Well, as the team and myself were, we were kind of preparing the content and starting to discuss what we wanted to talk about in this episode. This was something that I think we really haven't covered directly. And kind of like you'd mentioned in your intro, self-confidence at its root is one of the most important characteristics, let's say, as a founder, or really just even as an individual that you want to possess. If there's anything you'd like to accomplish in your life to any extent, you must have the confidence to even try it, right? And that's kind of that first step. So, for a lot of people, confidence can be a real issue, you know, so that's it's important.
I think fundamentally for me, it's something that I realized when I forget what book it was. It was a book that I read recently. I think it was Relentless a couple months ago. Yeah. And I think in that book we talk about, I'm at a butcher. It might not have been the book. I read like 4 books in that month, but it was something that said, and we talked about this, was how many times we hear no as we grow up. Remember I was telling you this?
Yes.
And when I was looking at the statistics, it blew my mind, right? Because we're talking about you growing up, your parents, your environment, your school, your counselors, your guidance system, everything is telling you, no, you cannot do this. No, you cannot do that. We should probably close that.
Yeah.
We're having a little bit of a disturbance in here with the wind, but other than that, basically, let me restart that bit. Right, it's how many times you hear no as you grow up that conditions your mind to tell you that it's not possible, and just adds this added level and layer of fear that inherently stops you from doing certain things, right? And it's just, it comes from a good place, from family, from school, from education system. But what it does to the human psyche and mind is that it starts conditioning us to be more fearful and be less confident.
And absolutely. And I think ultimately, in addition to that, it starts now to form limitations.
Absolutely.
And that's essentially what, after hearing no over and over and over again, you start to think that certain things aren't possible. And, if you're someone that wants to start any sort of company or want to do something amazing with your life, people won't believe you. You're going to hear no. So you need to have that confidence and really believe in yourself that, hey, I don't have any limitations.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the only one that will think that, for a little bit, and so you have to be okay with that. And ultimately, like for me, that's what's going to get you over the hump. That's what got me over the hump, in my days too, you know.
1000%. And what's funny? It's always weird in every avenue when you're about to do it for the first time. And that's where confidence, the lack of confidence kicks in. But the minute that you do it, the more times you do it, it's like practice and repetition. You start gaining, building that confidence muscle. And you'll never be able to develop that muscle and make it strong without consistently hitting it, without consistently pushing your boundaries.
Absolutely.
And as vague as that sounds, that's just really how
well,
it is.
for sure. And, I think another aspect or contributor to that is also what you think people think of you, caring what people think. You have to be in a place where you don't care. Yeah. You can't care what people think of you, and you have to believe in yourself, your abilities, your drive, your work ethic, and go ahead and set out and accomplish your goals. It won't be easy.
I think that's what it is, right? I think it comes down to what you're conditioned to believe, what you're conditioned to, and what you're used to. And look, I'm not justifying that. I think this applies to every human being, unless some kid grows up in a household where the parents are crazy adventurers. I feel like Bear Grylls. You know who Bear Grylls is, right?
No.
He was in a podcast recently. It's the crazy adventure, the guy that goes in the woods and the jungles, the survivor things, has all these celebrities that come with him. You know who he is. There's no way you
maybe if I saw him. Yeah.
No, we're talking about complete
the Liver King is
Bear
the Liver
Grylls. David, if you could put up Bear Grylls, Man versus Wild.
Oh yeah, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah. So Bear Grylls, I think he was in a podcast recently, and he was talking about how when his kid was 8 or 9 years old, he took him out of a plane and threw him out took him out go skydiving.
Sick.
Like went scuba diving when he was like 7 or 8. Some wild stuff that he just really pushed him out of the comfort zone. A kid like that growing up is not going to have any confidence problems. That's because the conditions are so...
I mean, when you look at like a lot of successful people or celebrities, like for example, the first person that comes to mind is someone like Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Where if you look at his 2 daughters that he has, they're speaking on stage, they're doing sales calls, and they're like 14 years old. And they're a lot more polished than, half of the people that you would come across in any kind of industry from a sales standpoint. So again, just kind of full circle, it comes back to your point where it's about self-confidence. It's about also the people you have around you and what they're saying to you. And then actually believing that you don't have any limitations. Like no one has every limitation that you have is self-imposed. It's your brain coming up for some reason. Hey, this is my ceiling. In reality, there is no ceiling.
Yeah, 1000% agree, and that's a pretty common theme and misconception people have. But let's dive in a little bit more, right?
Sure.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's give some personal examples and anecdotes, right? So,
okay,
can you share a time where, I guess, in maybe like an entrepreneurial journey,
sure,
where you struggled with confidence? And personally, what would you? Can you think of something?
Yeah, I think probably one of the first ventures that I had. The aftermath of it was absolutely like a big hit to my self-confidence. From the standpoint of, I just felt like I wasn't enough, and what I didn't really contribute to anything. And that was the initial feeling. But then after, kind of simmering on it, really thinking through it, obviously those once thought realities just weren't true at all. The things I did were right. The things I did, did contribute. And, again, it's just about kind of thinking about it from an objective point of view and saying, you know what? Even if I did do it right, even if I did do it wrong, doesn't matter. I learned from it. And if I do it again, I know I'm going to crush it. And that's, I think, probably one of the first steps in that kind of self-confidence journey, kind of building it up. And there's, again, I mean, something that's also helped me is kind of writing down. So if I'm ever very overwhelmed or in like a dark place, let's say, what's really helped me is just getting a piece of paper with a pen, or even opening up like a Google Doc, and then you're just typing out what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. And then even reading it over once I'm done, or reading it over the next day, I don't know, like for me, that's really almost kind of relieves it in a way. That's one of my kind of tactics for sure. You know, because when something happens to you, or even if you're just thinking about something, your mind just goes in circles like this all the time. And if you actually write something out, it's just a weird thing for me where I just feel so much better personally. And that's worked for me for
that's good. I mean, I think
a couple years.
I think you just need to figure out what works for you, whatever gets you over that edge to be able to do what you need to do to execute, perform at the highest level, or just start building up confidence. You have to do. It could be that.
Well, what's the time for you? Like, is there a specific moment for you, or a few moments where your self-confidence really wasn't that high and you doubted your abilities?
1,000%. I think that the biggest and most significant moment that I could tell you that I struggled with confidence, self-doubt, anything like that would probably be right around the time when I was first creating my first startup. It started off with confidence. The root of that was confidence.
Right.
The idea was, I was in college. I was in. I moved from another country to to state here, and then from that to another town. And basically, in a nutshell, I lost a lot of friends because they weren't coming with me, and I had to make new friends. And I was in a very uncomfortable scenario. I wasn't super extroverted. I mean, I was like a mix of both. And the reality is just I was young, and I was nervous, and I didn't know how to network with and make friends with people. And that's where the idea of my first startup came, which was like an event, like it was like an event company, right?
Okay.
Which
Nice.
evolved into many other things, but that was the root of that. But even so, that's like funny because that's what inspired the idea of that startup. So that's kind of like ironic.
Yes.
But also, so many different things and thoughts that come to your head. And I'm talking about 12 years ago. Right?
How did you fix it?
You just have to do it. I didn't go to any seminars. I didn't really go to anything. Like I realized that my lack of self-belief was holding me back. And I'll be completely honest with you. This is 1,000% my life experience. Is I didn't realize that I've overcome the confidence issue that I've had for probably several years, because the amount of things that I was forced to do, or I know that I needed to do to build a successful startup and company and hire all these people, train all these people, bring them onto my team, raise money, funds for, pitch it to investors. All of those things require confidence. I didn't realize that I've overcome that and I'm ready to absolutely destroy whatever it is in that environment until probably several years later. And the thing is like, it's not really a progress meter in your head.
Well, it's not like one day you wake up and it's like, okay, I'm ready. It would never be like that. But
if I had to basically going back to your point, if I had to connect back to a certain moment or period of time, it was that. Before that in college and high school, like I was confident, sure, I could make friends, whatever, but it's not, I think there's different wavelengths of it.
For sure. And also keeping in mind that like in this kind of journey, a lot of times you're kind of by yourself in a way. So it's not like it's you. And you're kind of the source of the ups, the downs, and everything else in between.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That's I like that. I like that a lot. Do you have any daily rituals that you formed from, like, let's say this moment in time, or that's developed over the years?
I'm trying to think of rituals that I've done in the past. I don't think they would be important enough for me to remember and say.
Okay.
But I would say what I'm currently doing, or what I have been doing most of this year, was when I wake up, I don't really start my day off with technology.
Sure.
like for example, if you caught me later on in the day, I'm at home. Let's say I'm sitting on my couch or I'm in the bathroom and I'm scrolling through stuff like what normal human beings do.
Sure.
Right now, when I wake up, my goal is to kind of have 10 minutes of just 10 to 15, maybe 20 minutes. Really depends on how short my time is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have something that's like a fixed time every day, but I at least try to have 10 minutes of just clear, disconnected gratitude, like a period of that.
That's good practice.
Yeah, and just I think the biggest thing is just disconnect from social media. Like if I were to look at my phone and just scroll through my alerts off rip, it would drive me insane.
Yeah.
Right. And imagine starting your day with looking at a bad news or something like a deal that didn't go through or something like that you were so excited about the day before, but then you wake up and you're like, wow, that's the first bit of information that is kicking your day off. I think it's really important to kind of have some sort of mental clarity. I think it helps with mental health too. It's not just confidence, but I think in the overall ritualistic perspective, that starts off my day in a nice tone, positive attitude. Okay. I think, or at least I try.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any daily rituals?
Yeah, I would say every day, and this is normally like when I'm driving.
Okay.
Is I don't really drive. I would probably say 80% of the time I don't really drive with music on ever.
Okay.
Unless I'm with someone. If I'm by myself, I guess especially when I'm on my way to the office in the morning specifically, I drive with no music on, and that's kind of my time to just kind of think, hang out, silence, and just drive. It's a little bit of a longer drive for me, so normally that's like a 20-30 minute thing.
So you don't put any music, you don't put anything on?
No music, no radio, nothing. It's just straight silence and me just driving, and my mind is just thinking. I like the peace and quiet, again, especially to start off the day once I've gotten ready and I'm heading into the office to kind of take on the day.
Yeah.
It's really helped. It's definitely really helped for sure. Now, of course, are there days where...
Why do you think it helps?
Why do I think it helps?
No, because I can relate to that, but I don't really have a commute like that. But sometimes when you're driving, man, you go into these thoughts, right? It's kind of like a meditative state.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, and it's almost like, obviously you always want to stay safe, right? Just kind of throw it out there, but it's almost like you're on autopilot in a way. And I've just found that for me, just the feeling of being in the car, you're kind of like in an enclosed environment, and I know how much time that I have to just kind of, I'm not going to say relax, but it's a calm, quiet place, and I just go. It's kind of a poor description, but
no, it's not. Yeah, I'll explain. I'll tell you why. I used to do this a couple years ago, when I would need to practice speaking and talking, like public speaking, and just be able to regurgitate it, whether it's going on stage, presenting in front of a couple people, hundreds of people, whatever it is.
Sure.
What the environment of a car is, it's all glass.
Sure.
And you can see who's close, who's far away.
Right.
It's also kind of soundproof in a way where you can kind of scream, yell, and just let it out.
Yes.
It's a really good place, like you said, in a closed environment for you to be able to practice pitching or talking out loud. Just that really helps building confidence, as opposed to you, let's say, living in a house full of people, staying in your room, even though you have the door shut and people can still hear outside. You're more in of a controlled environment. I've done that several times where I've had to practice something, or like a pitch or a speech or anything like that. I would just sit in the car, just read it, and like I wouldn't hesitate doing it even now. I think it's a really I don't know.
Yeah, I've learned to kind of enjoy that part of my day. It's almost kind of like the calm before the storm in a lot of ways for me. So that's absolutely something that I practice almost every single day, and I've learned to really enjoy that for sure.
Now,
as we start to kind of progress right through this topic of confidence, we kind of touched on it in the very beginning of this episode a bit. How do you think, I'd like to kind of talk about your surroundings.
Okay.
And the role of your environment with its relationship to your confidence. So I know we spoke about before where you can't, if you have people that are around you that, let's say, are telling you no, or that are talking, not believing in you, those sorts of things. So again, to get to my question, what kind of role would you say for you your environment has had?
There's two things.
Sure.
One is personal and like work environment.
Uh-huh.
I think what you do in your personal environment is going to be whether you like it or not, it's going to be a direct reflection in your work environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have that overlap. If you're surrounded by bums, by people that are not thinking like you, moving like you, having practices, just moving their life forward the way you want to, and it doesn't have to be the same exact thing, but it's more of like a mindset thing. If your 5 circle of friends
mm-hmm.
are not on the same wavelength as you, cut them right away.
Mm-hmm.
Because if your goal is to build something for yourself, if your goal is to build confidence, be able to achieve all of your dreams, and like you are going to be held back by having no supportive friends, not having like-minded individuals, I think all of that is really important. And then from a work environment, again, it would mirror, right? Like having the right mentors, having people
mm-hmm.
that you can bounce ideas off of,
mm-hmm.
creative individuals, people that are more skilled than you. It doesn't matter. Your mindset and everything collectively matters. And that, I think, is really, really important to be able to help boost self-confidence,
mm-hmm.
because these are people that are going to be able to nurture that
mm-hmm.
a lot more every single day.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back home and in a work environment, you have all of that and there's no clear balance, you go back home and you hang out with a couple of friends that are, I don't know, smoking pot, drinking, doing whatever, and that's like a regular thing. And like these are people that are not going to encourage you to push you to your limits. These are people that are going to be like, okay, let's just chill out, have a good time, let's do whatever,
mm-hmm.
Give you valuable feedback, just celebrate success.
Yeah.
I've always said this. My circle of friends have been so tight for so long, and it takes me a really long time to let somebody in. And in the last decade,
mm-hmm.
I haven't, and very little have I started opening that. And I can count in one hand the people that make that cut. And the reason why is because of that. And they all do different things. They do
mm-hmm.
all the different things, and they're doing fine in life.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, it's just that mindset of how much does all these other extra elements of life matter to you. For me, it doesn't. For me, like, I don't surround myself with people like that are bums, that are party animals, like, if I wanted to partake in that, it's an occasional thing for me, but I don't ever let them into my circle.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with some of what you said, because personally, I actually used to be super, super hardcore on that.
Hardcore on what?
With, if we're not like-minded in any way, you're done. Like, don't hit me up, delete my number, you're cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of what I've learned over the years, because at one point I did do that, and the results of it were some were positive, some were negative for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you just really have to understand like the people that you're around, and
mm-hmm.
you have to decide how much of an impact that you want them to have on your life.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a couple buddies, that
mm-hmm.
are not going to create the biggest company ever, or that they have their job, they're happy with it, they're going to go ahead and live that normal life, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no.
But you just have to know kind of where that piece fits on your board,
mm-hmm.
for me, or where that piece fits in your puzzle. That's not going to be the guy they're going to start bouncing off new startup ideas off of. Right?
That's completely wrong.
So,
like, in terms of that, like from what I was saying, that's not what I'm saying at all. You could be a janitor in McDonald's. It doesn't matter
mm-hmm.
to me. If you're happy with what you're doing in life, it's more so the people that I select in my lineup
mm-hmm.
It's not about like being super. Like, none of my friends are like that are in that tight circle from over a decade ago that are still my ride or dies, are like multi-billion-dollar like industry owners, mm-hmm. right? it's about the mindset, and in terms of like what you do, what matters to you, health, fitness, stability.
Well, in regards to goals and
growth.
being like-minded, right? You have to know where those people fit on the board. You have to know who to say what to.
So, but that's what I'm trying to tell you, though. It's all these for me, it's a list of characteristics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Health, fitness, goals, growth. Like now, these characteristics matter to me.
Sure.
Maybe health and fitness didn't for the first greater part of the decade.
So would you say all your friends have the same goals as you?
I mean, yeah, in terms of their own life, but it's goals can vary, right? As long as you have goals that progress you, that are growth-based, yes. That's why the lineup is so tight, for sure. Like if we individually sat down.
No, but what I'm saying is, right? Based on, let's say, the people that you're around, do they have the same goals to build a gigantic company?
No, that doesn't have to be accurate, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, no, that's what I'm trying to say. Is you have to know where these people fit on your board before you kind of abruptly interrupted me.
Okay, sorry.
Right? So, but again, just trying to understand where you are, where these people are compared to where you'd like to be, and then you start to form that circle. What I am saying is, through personal experience, it is a bad idea to one day wake up and say, you know what, Jonathan, fuck that guy. He's done. Right? This might be a guy that you've been friends with for 3, 4, 5 years. Before you do that, you should take a step back and try to understand what his impact is on you.
Okay, is Jonathan a good friend?
He's a good friend.
Okay, is he toxic?
Some would say that what he does on a daily basis doesn't support your goals.
Are you toxic?
What?
Are you toxic?
No.
By nature, are you?
No.
Okay, cut him the hell out if he is toxic.
I didn't say he was toxic.
Okay, this is what I was trying to say. Ready? So we might have some overlaps here and there. What the basic nature of this mindset that we're talking about, right, in terms of your environment, is all rooted on what your priorities and principles are. If your principles are...
Principles and values. Yeah.
Sure. If your principles and values are... I want like-minded individuals that have the same goals as me. That, to me, could mean a few different things. If that's to you is like, okay, we're all going to be successful business owners and millionaires, then that's different from what I'm talking about. It's not the same. Has to be a nice, good person. Has to care about family. These could be values and principles.
Sure.
For me, it was more of exactly what I just said. Growth. Like if my friends... just like... exactly right. They're all grind, they all grind. They're all hustlers. And at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. If you're sitting, so that's exactly what the point is. If you're just sitting back and letting your life go to shit, and there's plenty of people that were in and around my vicinity that I was really good friends with, cut them out. And that's my point. And the thing is, you're a social guy, so I get it, and you've got a pretty big circle. For me, over the years, that has dwindled down, not because, I've been a shit friend or whatever it is.
No, for sure.
I love hard in general when it comes to anything, So for me, I don't do half-ass stuff. Even if I don't talk to you for 7 months, when we get back, it's going to be like, nothing happened. We didn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
That's the type of people I have around me.
For sure.
When I hang out with my boys, my circle, my tight-knit group, we don't talk about any of work progress stuff. Very little will that be. And but the reality is, if you look at our individual lives and we've all focusing on the same overall values and principles. And that's exactly why it's really, really important, because when you disconnect yourself from that and you bring that to a work environment, that needs to carry over. And if you're going from that to that, it's such a massive flavor difference. And if you have 30, 40, 50 people that you're keeping tabs up with, there's no way you're having 10, 15 people that are all having the same type of goals, the same type of, overall that. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Being friendly is what I'm going for more now than being friends with everybody. That's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, again, a lot of it just kind of comes back to, again, for those of you that have kind of listened to this, discussion thus far, think about it, see how you'd like to approach it. And, again, I think being able to understand, what your friends are, goals are, what they want to do with their life, what their daily habits are.
I think it applies in a work environment too. If you're in a toxic work environment and that's not propelling you to where you need to go, cut it. Put yourself in a harder situation and then do it.
But see, I don't agree with that at all. That's,
so what is it? What do you agree with? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, if they're a nice guy, and just because, let's say, they don't work as hard as you, or assuming that they have, they're integrity based and they share your same values. Like, I don't think you should abruptly cut someone off.
I'm in a work environment. I'm not talking about.
Well, how would you cut someone off in a work environment?
I'm talking about the people that you work with, the people that you surround with. If you're starting a business with somebody, that's what I'm talking about, right?
Well, you just have to know where these people fit on the board.
Sometimes people don't.
Exactly. But you have to be able to look at the board first, not just the piece, and just say, done.
But that's
I just say that for personal experience, because I've done that to many, many, many people, and sometimes, like, for most of the time, it works out. Like, it was a great decision. I should have done it. But there are certain points in people where it's like, you know what? Just because he doesn't have the same goals as me, or just because, he's okay with X, Y, and Z, he's still a good dude. Maybe I'll see him every couple of months.
Oh, yeah,
and that's fine, right? I guess what the point I'm trying to get across is I think there's a gray area. I don't think it's black or white.
Okay,
I think
what's
there
the
can
gray
be a gray
area
area
in your space? What's the gray area?
What I just mentioned.
Yeah, but that's like, if you've got to be kind of like a really crappy person to just be rude and disconnect with someone. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're one of your friends that's not in your tight circle.
Well, what do you mean then by cut them off?
Cut them off as in, like, not in your regular sit downs, just not in your regular circle, not in a regular.
So we're going to just stop hitting them up one day?
Yeah, for sure. That's
rude.
What I would
that's what you just said. That's
rude,
what
I would do. Well, if they don't hit first of all, if you don't have the wherewithal to sit down one day, internalize and figure out what is important to you, who are the type of people that you want to surround with, make that list, and then
at the board.
And you don't have the balls to follow through on that list, I don't have any advice for your feedback.
Completely agree with that statement.
That's exact. So then, what are we talking about here? So you're just gonna cut them off? Yes, you're gonna cut them off. If they don't make your checklist,
you have to make look at the board first from a 30,000-foot view.
Listen, man, I can tell you that all the young people that are listening to us right now, people that are in their 20s, their earlys and mids, everybody lives their life so complacently, and it's such a flyby situation where every single thing is just like one day after another, and they just, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that. Half their life, the most important decade of building something is your 20s. If you let all of your years in your 20s just fly by because you've spent so much time loitering around with your friends, smoking joints, smoking all kinds of stuff, doing drugs, partying, and just having more good time, and because that's important to you, then that's your value and principle. It's not propelling you to where you need to be.
Correct.
And that's being brought down by the people that you're surrounding yourself, your environment. That's my point. If you can't consciously think about that and start cutting people that are toxic, that are detrimental to you, your well-being, and you getting to where you need to be, you're not going to be living with them and retiring with them when you're 80 years old.
Yeah, you're the sum of the 5 people.
What are we talking about? You're the sum of 5 people.
Absolutely.
What are we talking about? If you don't have the courage to cut people out, even if they're nice, but if their habits, their principles, their flow is toxic to what you need to achieve or where you need to go to, cut them out. That's all I'm saying. And if you can't do that, then this isn't for you. This conversation isn't for you. You know?
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, these are kind of the hard realities. These are sacrifices that everyone talks about. Yeah. What, the laptop?
Yeah. So I don't know where we're at, but you're gonna have to navigate us. Yeah.
These are. I feel like this is also one of the more undervalued things or sacrifices that like people talk about. And even though we're talking about this now, where we just had a thorough kind of conversation.
Yeah, it's good though
about those things. Yeah, well, absolutely, because these are things like you're gonna have to go through these battles, and we didn't even talk about family.
What's the age difference between me and you?
I am turning 26 this year.
Yeah, so we have like a 6 year-ish difference, right?
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
So you're in a different era. I right now am. Like you're in your boost era, and you're doing fine. But like I've been where you are, so it's great perspective to be able to see. It's almost like in the future. Like you don't want to be that. You know, like I had a lot more. Like eventually, like when you will see as it progresses, because the way you're positioned and you're doing stuff already, like these things matter.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
Like when you're young, when you're more energetic, you're you're just doing so much more, right? In terms of a social environment. So it's not like, I wish I had that foresight is what I'm saying. I wish I was like, not to sound like an asshole, like not to turn people off, like cutting people out. Like, I wish I was doing that more proactively and formulating that earlier.
Yes.
Because I wasted a lot of time with a lot of people and a lot of energy with a lot of people, so that people don't realize that when you're in your 20s, man, you do not realize how young you are, but how valuable that entire decade is.
Yeah.
So it's like good perspective for me and you to just be able to talk about that.
100%. Now, as we kind of start to wrap up here, why is self-confidence so important? Let me hear your kind of overall thoughts here based on everything we've spoken about so far.
Self-confidence.
Do you have any closing thoughts here, or would you like to kind of leave our audience with maybe one tool or habit that you think that they should try in order to kind of boost their self-confidence?
I mean,
what do you think?
I don't want to state the obvious, right? I think would like to leave it to where we were, but in reality is everything that you ever need to achieve or want to achieve is all rooted with confidence, right? Like you asking a girl out, you being a motivational speaker, you starting a podcast, you doing a business. Every one of these things are scary, and almost essentially everything that you do outside of your four walls in your bedroom is scary. The world is a scary, scary place. If your goal is to just sit in there and you're happy with what you're doing, what you're making, nobody cares. It's fine. No one's going to judge. But if your goal is to change that, your goal is to kind of bring you to be that super cool motivational speaker or whatever it is, you're going to need to be able to develop a skill that you were not born with.
Yes.
And most likely it was regressed over the years until you became a young teen or an adult. That confidence ability was removed from wherever it is in your brain. And you now have to re-implant it. So the priority of how important is it to me, I think needs to be reshifted. So my final thoughts. What about you? What you got?
I would say, from like a Cliff Note version, one of the best ways to improve your confidence is to try and do something new, like every single day, whether it could be saying hi to a stranger or, I don't know, saying hi to a stranger. That's a great start.
Baby steps. I like that.
Baby steps. That's how I started.
Okay.
Like literally with that specific example.
Go give someone a compliment.
Anything.
Yeah. Like cool shoes, man.
Exactly.
Just say the same thing to 10 people. Who cares?
Exactly. Who cares?
Hey, cool shoes, man. That's a really nice color. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, for me, figure out a time and place where you can just kind of be alone in your thoughts. Like you mentioned before in your little wrap up here, that it's a very loud world. Take at least 5 minutes to just be within your own mind. I'm a big fan of that. And I think those two things are a really good start. And I've enjoyed the conversation, for today, my friend.
Yeah, it was good.
I really enjoyed it. And so for those watching, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, we're everywhere that you would potentially find us. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Life is really what you make it. Building up your brand is whatever you create it. Really ain't no limit. You just gotta love it. Working day and night, it's all about the venture hustle. Hey, venture hustles. Time to take it to the next level. Let's go.